Can you imagine ruling an entire empire at just 9 years old? It sounds impossible, but for one of history's most famous pharaohs, it was reality. This is the story of Tutankhamun, the boy king, whose brief life and incredible discovery would captivate the world for a century. Born around 1341 BCE, Tutankhamun entered a world of immense change. His father was the revolutionary Pharaoh Akhenaten, who had turned Egypt on its head by trying to replace its pantheon of gods with a single deity, the sun disk, Aten. Tutankhamun's original name was even Tutankhaten, meaning living image of Aten. He grew up in a palace buzzing with religious upheaval and political tension, a world far from stable. Then, at just 9 years old, the throne became his. Egypt was in turmoil and desperately needed a leader to restore order. One of the first and most significant acts of his reign was to completely reverse his father's controversial reforms. The old gods, Amun, Osiris, Isis, were brought back. Temples that had been shuttered were reopened, and the traditional faith of the Egyptian people was restored. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was a massive political and religious shift, guided by his influential advisors, Ai and Horemheb. But was he just a puppet king, a boy ruler with powerful men pulling the strings? It's a question historians still debate. While advisors like Ai and Horemheb certainly held immense power, discoveries from his tomb paint a picture of an active young pharaoh. Artifacts show him participating in religious festivals, grand ceremonies, and even hunting from his chariot. He was the face of the monarchy, the living embodiment of a return to tradition. However, life for the young king wasn't easy. Modern analysis of his mummy has revealed a host of health problems. He had a clubfoot, which would have made walking difficult without a cane, and in fact, over 100 walking sticks were found in his tomb. He also had a cleft palate and other genetic issues, likely a result of the common practice of inbreeding within the royal family. His own wife, Ankhesenamun, was his half-sister, a marriage designed to keep the royal bloodline pure and consolidate their claim to the throne. Despite the political nature of their union, inscriptions suggest a real bond of affection between them, often depicting them as a devoted royal couple. Tragically, his reign was cut short. He died around the age of 18 or 19, leaving behind a swirl of unanswered questions. How did he die? For decades, theories ranged from a deadly chariot accident to assassination. A fracture in his skull led many to suspect foul play, with his powerful advisors as the prime suspects. But more recent studies using CT scans and DNA analysis have pointed to a less dramatic but equally tragic conclusion. It seems a combination of his genetic frailties and a severe case of malaria likely proved fatal. A broken leg, possibly from a fall, may have become infected, and in his already weakened state, it was more than his body could handle. After his death, Tutankhamun was buried in the Valley of the Kings, the royal necropolis for the pharaohs of the New Kingdom. But his successors, particularly Horemheb, wanted to erase the entire period of Akhenaten's rule from history, and that included his son, Tutankhamun. His name was scrubbed from monuments, and his legacy was intentionally buried. For over 3,000 years, the boy king was almost completely forgotten, a minor footnote in the long and storied history of ancient Egypt. He was overshadowed by legendary pharaohs like Ramesses the Great and Hatshepsut. His magnificent tomb, smaller and less grand than others, was eventually covered by debris from the construction of a later tomb, effectively hiding it from sight. And there it remained, hidden and undisturbed, for more than 3,200 years. Then came 1922. A determined British archaeologist named Howard Carter had been searching for the lost tomb for years, funded by his patron, Lord Carnarvon. After many fruitless seasons, time and money were running out. but Carter had a hunch about one last unexplored area. On November 4th, his team uncovered a step cut into the bedrock, then another and another, leading down to a sealed doorway bearing the royal seals of Tutankhamun. After weeks of careful excavation, Carter made a tiny breach in the corner of the doorway. He held up a candle and peered into the darkness. Lord Carnarvon, standing anxiously behind him, asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter's reply has become legendary. Yes, wonderful things. What he saw was an antechamber filled to the brim with golden treasures, gilded chariots, statues, ornate furniture, and chests filled with priceless artifacts. It was a scene beyond his wildest dreams, and this was just the beginning. Beyond that room lay the burial chamber itself, containing the sarcophagus and the iconic solid gold funerary mask of Tutankhamun. The tomb was almost perfectly intact, a treasure trove that had escaped the fate of nearly every other royal tomb in the valley, which had been looted by grave robbers centuries ago. It contained over 5,000 objects, each one a breathtaking example of the wealth and artistry of the 18th dynasty. The discovery was an absolute global sensation. Newspapers around the world ran front-page stories, and a wave of Tut mania swept the globe. Fashion, art, and architecture were suddenly inspired by Egyptian motifs. The world was utterly fascinated by the story of the boy king, plucked from obscurity and returned to the spotlight. Today, the study of Tutankhamun and his treasures continues. Modern technology allows us to learn more than Howard Carter could have ever imagined. DNA analysis has helped untangle his family tree, confirming his parentage and revealing his health issues. Scans of his mummy have given us insights into his final days. The artifacts themselves tell us about the daily life, religion, and funerary practices of the ancient Egyptians in incredible detail. Tutankhamun's story is more than just a tale of gold and curses. It's a remarkable journey of a boy who ruled in a time of crisis, was erased from history, and then rediscovered 3 millennia later to become one of the most famous figures from the ancient world. His short life left an eternal mark, offering an unparalleled window into a civilization that continues to awe and inspire us. From a child in a turbulent palace to a global icon, Tutankhamun remains a powerful symbol of mystery, youth, and the timeless allure of ancient Egypt. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories from history. We'll see you in the next one.